High in the cliffs of the southwest, stone homes cling to rock walls where entire communities once lived before leaving without clear explanation. In an Oklahoma forest, a single carved stone bears symbols that seem out of place, raising questions no one has settled. Beneath shallow ocean water, a line of stone curves across the sea floor, challenging where nature ends and human history begins. Mesa Verde cliff dwellings. When you first see the cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde, the reaction is usually silence. The structures sit tucked into deep sandstone alcoves, high above the canyon floor, as if the people who built them wanted to disappear into the rock itself. Even today, with paved roads and railings nearby, the place still feels remote. The stone walls blend into the cliffs, shadows move slowly across doorways that have been empty for centuries. It feels less like ruins and more like a paused moment. Mesa Verde was home to the ancestral Pueblo people, who lived in this region for hundreds of years. At first, they did not live in the cliffs at all. Earlier communities built homes on the mesa tops above, farming corn, beans, and squash. They lived in pit houses and later above-ground stone buildings. Life was hard but stable, shaped by seasons, rain, and careful planning. Then, in the late 1100s, something changed. Families began moving off the open mesa and into the cliffs. They built multi-room stone villages inside natural rock shelters. Some of these dwellings are small, holding just a few families. Others, like Cliff Palace, are massive, with more than 150 rooms and dozens of kivas, the round ceremonial spaces that were central to spiritual life. The construction is precise. Stones are shaped and stacked with care. Walls rise straight. Doorways are narrow and deliberate. This was skilled work done under difficult conditions. The big mystery is why they moved there in the first place. Cliff dwellings are not easy places to live. Access is limited. Some required climbing handholds carved into rock or using ladders that could be pulled up. Carrying water, food, and building materials into these alcoves would have been exhausting. So the move was not about comfort. It was about survival, safety, or both. One strong idea is climate stress. The late 1100s and early 1200s saw a long drought across the southwest. Rain became less predictable. Crops failed more often. Living in cliff alcoves provided shade in summer and protection from wind and cold in winter. Water sources nearby may have lasted longer than those on the open mesa. The cliffs may have offered a way to stretch limited resources, but climate alone does not explain the scale of the move. There is also evidence of rising tension and violence in the region. Some cliff dwellings are positioned for defense, with narrow entrances and wide views of the surrounding land. If conflict increased, living high up and tucked away would have offered protection. The fact that ladders could be removed suggests people were thinking carefully about who could reach them. Life inside the cliff dwellings was crowded. Rooms were small and dark. Smoke from fires would have filled the air. Privacy was limited. Yet these were not chaotic spaces. The villages were organized. Kivas were placed deliberately. Storage rooms held food for lean times. The layout shows planning and shared purpose. Still, the cliff dwellings were only occupied for a short time. Roughly a century later, by the late 1200s, Mesa Verde was abandoned. This is the part that still unsettles people. Entire communities packed up and left. They did not slowly fade away. They moved, and they moved far. Many traveled south into what is now New Mexico and Arizona, joining or forming new Pueblo communities along the Rio Grande and other areas. These moves were likely planned, not panicked. Valuable items were taken. Structures were not destroyed in anger. It was a controlled departure. So why leave a place that took so much effort to build? The drought worsened. Tree ring data shows years of extreme dryness. Near the end of Mesa Verde's occupation, farming would have become nearly impossible. Springs may have dried up. Even cliff shelters cannot protect against hunger. Social pressures may also have grown. Competition over limited resources can strain even strong communities. There is also a deeper possibility. Pueblo oral histories speak of migration as a sacred journey, not a failure. Movement was part of their worldview. When a place no longer supported balance between people, land, and spirit, it was time to leave. From that perspective, abandonment was not collapse. It was a decision. What remains today is remarkably intact, and that is both a gift and a challenge. Mesa Verde National Park protects over 600 cliff dwellings, though only a few are open to visitors. Cliff Palace, Balcony House, and Longhouse give a powerful sense of scale in daily life. Walking through them is humbling. You feel how small the rooms are. You notice handprints in plaster. You see wear in the stone steps. These were homes, not monuments. There are positives to how the site is managed now. Preservation efforts are strong. Visitor access is controlled. Rangers provide context without turning the place into entertainment. The surrounding landscape is still largely undeveloped, which helps preserve the feeling of isolation. But there are negatives too. Climate change continues to threaten the structures. Freeze-thaw cycles crack stone. Increased tourism adds wear, even when managed carefully. Some visitors treat the site casually, forgetting it is a place of deep cultural meaning, not just a photo stop. There is also a quiet loss in seeing these places separated from living communities. The descendants of Mesa Verde's builders still exist, but the site itself is frozen in time. It tells only part of the story. Without listening to modern Pueblo voices, it is easy to turn the dwellings into a mystery instead of a chapter in a living culture. My own view of Mesa Verde sits somewhere in the middle. I do not see it as a failed society or an unsolved puzzle waiting for a dramatic answer. I see it as evidence of people adapting under pressure, making difficult choices, and eventually choosing to move on. The mystery is not why they left, but how calmly and deliberately they did so. Today, Mesa Verde stands as both a warning and a lesson. It shows what human cooperation can achieve, even with limited tools. It also shows how fragile that balance can be when climate, resources, and social stress collide. The cliffs are quiet now, but they are not empty. They hold decisions, effort, and memory. At present, Mesa Verde is a protected national park, carefully maintained but constantly challenged by natural erosion and modern impact. The dwellings remain strong in many places, fragile in others. Visitors can still walk through these stone homes, feel the cool air of the alcoves, and look out over the same canyons the ancestral Pueblo people once watched. The place endures, not as a mystery to solve, but as a reminder of human resilience and change. Heavener Runestone. Deep in the forested hills of eastern Oklahoma, there is a flat sandstone slab sitting quietly on a slope. No fence surrounds it. No grand structure rises above it. If you did not know what to look for, you might walk right past it. But carved into the surface of this stone are a series of straight lines and sharp angles that have caused more debate than almost any other artifact in the region. This is the Heavener Runestone. At first glance, the markings look deliberate. They are not random scratches. They are deep, clean cuts that form symbols resembling runes, the characters used in ancient Norse writing. That single fact is what makes this place so controversial. If these carvings are truly Norse, it would suggest that people from Scandinavia reached deep into the interior of North America nearly 1,000 years ago. That idea challenges what most people learn about early exploration of this continent. The stone was brought to wider attention in the early 1900s, though local people had known about it long before that. It lies near the town of Heavener, close to the Pamawachita Mountains. The setting matters. This area was once part of a natural travel corridor, with rivers, valleys, and passes that made movement possible even in ancient times. It was also home to Native American cultures for thousands of years before European contact. The carvings themselves are simple but striking. There are 8 main symbols. Supporters of the Norse theory say these match letters from the Elder Futhark rune system. When translated, they are often said to spell a name, sometimes interpreted as Glom or Nomadal, though the exact reading varies. Others argue the symbols do not form a meaningful or consistent word at all. This is where the mystery deepens. If Norse explorers did reach this far inland, how did they get here? The known Viking site at Lamsö Meadows in Newfoundland proves they reached North America around the year 1000. From there, rivers like the St. Lawrence and Mississippi could, in theory, allow travel deep into the continent. But theory is not proof. No Viking tools, ships, camps, or settlements have been found anywhere near Heavener. Critics of the runestone point out several issues. One is style. The runes at Heavener look clean and sharp, with little variation, almost too neat. Ancient carvings often show uneven depth and wear from primitive tools. Another concern is weathering. Some researchers argue the grooves do not show enough erosion to be 1,000 years old, though others disagree, noting that sandstone can preserve cuts surprisingly well in sheltered conditions. There is also the problem of isolation. Authentic archaeological finds rarely stand alone. They come with context. Pottery shards, fire pits, burials, tools. At Heavener, there is just the stone. No surrounding evidence clearly ties it to Norse culture or to any known Native American tradition either. That last point is important. Native American rock art exists across the region, but it usually takes very different forms. Petroglyphs tend to be symbolic, curved, or abstract, often tied to animals, spirits, or natural forces. The straight-lined runic style does not easily match known local traditions. That leaves the markings floating between cultures, claimed by none with certainty. Some suggest the carvings are much more recent, possibly made in the 1800s or even early 1900s by settlers familiar with runes through books or popular stories. The late 19th century saw a strong romantic interest in Vikings, especially among people of Northern European descent. Carving runes into stone as a kind of hoax or personal mark would not have been impossible, yet dismissing it as a hoax is also not fully satisfying. Creating deep carvings in hard stone takes effort. It is not a casual act, and whoever did it chose a remote location, not a place meant for attention or fame. No record exists of anyone claiming responsibility. If it was meant as a joke or trick, it was an oddly quiet one. Over time, other stones with similar markings have been reported in nearby areas, including Arkansas and Missouri. Some people see this as evidence of a wider Norse presence. Others see it as proof of imitation, where once the idea of runes entered local awareness, more carvings followed. The problem is that none of these sites have been conclusively dated in a way that settles the debate. What makes the Heavener Runestone especially interesting is how it sits at the edge of accepted history. Mainstream archaeology does not support the idea of Vikings in Oklahoma. That does not mean it is impossible, but it does mean the burden of proof is high. Extraordinary claims require strong evidence, and so far the evidence here remains thin. Still, standing in front of the stone, it is hard not to feel the pull of the mystery. The carvings are real. They are not natural. Someone made them with purpose. That alone makes the site worth attention, even if the answer turns out to be far less dramatic than Viking explorers marching through the interior. Today, the runestone is protected within a small park. There are walkways, signs, and a shelter overhead to reduce weather damage. Access is easy, and visitors can get very close. That closeness is both a positive and a risk. On one hand, it allows people to see the details clearly. On the other, exposure increases the chance of vandalism or accidental damage. The surrounding area is quiet and wooded. That helps preserve the atmosphere. You can hear wind through trees, insects, and distant birds. It does not feel like a tourist trap, but the simplicity of the site also leaves many visitors confused or disappointed. They expect a clear answer and do not get one. From a preservation standpoint, the site is stable but not immune to problems. Sandstone erodes slowly. Moisture, freezing temperatures, and biological growth can all weaken the carvings over time. Maintenance is ongoing, but limited funding means protection is basic rather than extensive. There is also a cultural tension around the site. Some Native American groups are wary of claims that place Europeans deep in North America before Columbus, especially when such claims are used to question indigenous history or presence. While the Heavener Runestone is often discussed as a curiosity, it exists within a much larger and more sensitive historical context. My own view is cautious. I do not think the runestone proves Vikings reached Oklahoma. The evidence simply is not strong enough for that conclusion. At the same time, I do not think it should be dismissed outright as meaningless. It deserves careful study, not ridicule or blind belief. To me, the Heavener Runestone represents something very human. Our desire to connect stories across time, our curiosity about who came before us, and our tendency to fill gaps in knowledge with imagination when facts run thin. The stone does not need to rewrite history to matter. Its value lies in the questions it raises and the discussions it sparks. In the present day, the Heavener Runestone remains accessible and relatively well cared for, though modestly protected. Positives include public access, basic preservation, and educational signage. Negatives include ongoing exposure to natural erosion, limited archaeological context, and the risk of overinterpretation. The site is quiet, unresolved, and still debated. It sits exactly where it has for centuries, asking nothing, answering little, and reminding us that not every mystery ends with certainty. Bimini Road. Just off the coast of North Bimini in the Bahamas, beneath shallow blue water, there is a line of stone that does not look natural at first glance. It runs in a long, gentle curve like a road disappearing into the sea. The stones are flat on top, squared along the edges, and arranged in a way that feels intentional. This is what people call the Bimini Road, and few underwater sites have caused more argument or imagination than this one. The water here is clear and warm. On calm days, you can see the stones clearly from above. They sit only a few feet below the surface, covered in sand, algae, and marine life. To some, it looks like a man-made structure, maybe a harbor wall or roadway. To others, it looks like nature doing what nature often does, creating patterns that trick the human eye. The discovery gained attention in the late 1960s when divers reported the stone formation and photos spread quickly. Almost immediately, theories followed. Some people connected the site to the legend of Atlantis, placing the lost city somewhere in the Bahamas. Others suggested it was evidence of an unknown ancient culture that lived here before sea levels rose. The idea was powerful. A stone road beneath the ocean felt like proof of a forgotten world. But archaeology rarely rewards first impressions. The stones that make up the Bimini Road are made of beach rock, a type of limestone that forms naturally along shorelines. Beach rock can fracture into large, flat slabs. Over time, waves, currents, and erosion can shift these slabs into lines or clusters. This is the main explanation offered by most geologists. They argue the stones formed naturally along an ancient shoreline and later sank or were submerged as sea levels changed. That explanation sounds simple, but the details complicated. The stones are not randomly scattered. Many of them fit together closely, like paving stones. Some appear stacked. The curve of the formation follows the coastline in a way that feels deliberate. Divers have reported right-angle corners and repeating patterns. These features make it harder to dismiss the site as purely natural without question. At the same time, no tools, pottery, carvings, or other signs of human activity have been found directly connected to the stones. That absence matters. Just like with land sites, underwater structures usually come with context. Harbors have anchors. Settlements have debris. Trade routes leave traces. At Bimini, there is only the stone itself. Over the years, researchers have taken core samples from the stones to study how they formed. These tests show the rock layers match natural beach rock formation rather than quarried stone. The layers run through multiple stones in ways that suggest they formed in place, not cut and moved. It is not unreasonable to think early people used coastlines that are now submerged. The question is whether they built stone structures like this one. Another reason the mystery persists is how human perception works. Our brains are excellent at finding patterns. When we see straight lines and flat surfaces, we think of construction. Nature, however, can produce similar shapes under the right conditions. The challenge is separating what feels designed from what actually is. Diving the site today is a quiet experience. Fish move between the stones. Seagrass grows along the edges. The ocean has softened everything. The stones no longer look sharp or new. They feel old, worn, and settled into their environment. Whether natural or not, they have been there a long time. The Bimini Road also exists in a strange space between science and popular culture. It is often used as an example of hidden ancient knowledge or lost history. Some tours promote it with dramatic language. Others avoid the mystery angle entirely and focus on the geology. That split shapes how visitors experience the site. There are positives to this attention. The site is widely known. It attracts divers, researchers, and curious travelers. It encourages interest in underwater archaeology and geology, fields that often struggle for public interest. People leave asking questions, and that curiosity has value. But there are negatives too. Overinterpretation is one. When a site becomes tied to big legends, it can overshadow careful study. People may ignore evidence that does not fit the story they want. Another issue is damage. Increased diving can disturb the stones, loosen sediment, and harm marine life. While the site is not heavily restricted, it is fragile in its own way. There is also disappointment. Some visitors arrive expecting ruins of a sunken city. What they find is a line of rocks. Without context, it can feel underwhelming. That gap between expectation and reality can lead to mistrust of science or frustration, rather than understanding. From a scientific point of view, the Bimini Road is a reminder of how cautious conclusions must be. The most likely explanation is that it is a natural formation shaped by geological processes and later altered slightly by currents and erosion. That does not make it boring. Nature creating something that looks artificial is fascinating in itself. At the same time, science is not static. New tools, better mapping, and deeper dives continue to improve understanding of underwater landscapes. If future evidence ever shows human involvement, that evidence will need to be clear and connected to broader findings. Until then, restraint matters. My own view sits in the middle. I do not believe the Bimini Road is proof of Atlantis or a lost advanced civilization. The lack of cultural evidence is too strong to ignore, but I also do not think people are foolish for being intrigued by it. The formation genuinely looks unusual. It challenges assumptions about what natural structures should look like. What matters most is how we respond to uncertainty. We can either rush to conclusions or stay curious without forcing answers. The Bimini Road invites the second approach. Today, the site remains accessible to divers and snorkelers. though conditions vary with weather and tides. Positives include clear water, rich marine life, and the chance to see a famous formation up close. Negatives include ongoing erosion, human impact from tourism, and the spread of misinformation online. There is no fence, no museum, no final explanation carved in stone. In its present state, the Bimini Road rests quietly beneath the waves, unchanged by debate above the surface. Whether natural or not, it has become part of the ocean's landscape. It does not prove a lost world, but it does remind us that the past, especially beneath the sea, is often more complex and less dramatic than legends suggest. And sometimes the real mystery is not what a place is, but why we want it to be something more.